In this episode of Nightmare Echoes, Eleazar and Stephen speak about the 1980 classic Friday the 13th. That's right, the original one, starring Betsy Palmer, Adrienne and Kevin Bacon. Also, because we love talking about horror movies, we also reference Psycho, Dawn of the Dead, Bodies, 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 and the Halloween franchise. So, spoilers ahead. Also want to let you know that movies we have coming up on the schedule are Jennifer's Body, Insidious, The Craft, and Pan's Labyrinth. So if you don't want to miss any of those, please subscribe. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back to Nightmare Echoes. I'm your host, Eleazar. I'm joined again by co-host Stephen. Stephen, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? I'm excited to talk about Friday the 13th, the original movie.
Yeah, 1980, rated R, had a budget of $550,000 and made $59.8 million.
Wow.
Like what a...
So popular.
Right? Directed by Sean S. Cunningham, written by Victor Miller, starring Betsy Palmer as Mrs. Voorhees, Adrienne King as Alice, and Kevin Bacon as Jack. And Kevin Bacon we know from like Flatliners, Tremors. I most recently saw him in They/Them, a horror movie, which is, interesting. Anything you want to say about it? If we wanted to give like a non-spoiler review for anybody that might not have seen this classic 1980 movie, but if we want to say anything about it before we start that's non-spoilery.
Did you ever go to camp as a kid?
Sure.
Were you ever scared of camp?
If I was, this is why.
Yep.
That's funny.
Speaking of which, so
Yeah.
I have an elementary age kid.
Yeah.
And they had a camp just last October in 2023.
Yeah.
They went to a camp near a lake in October.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th of October. At this camp by the lake.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Couldn't sleep.
I think I took my kid camping and showed them Children of the Corn. That's just like we were watching Children of the Corn. That's awesome. All right, let's spoil this whole movie. So the movie starts in 1958. It's at Camp Crystal Lake, kind of behind the scenes. This kind of mirrors
Camp Blood. No,
Oh, yeah.
just...
Oh, you're good. They say that later, yeah. Okay, I want to start with the director, Sean S. Cunningham, he told Victor Miller that he wanted to just copy Halloween and make it a movie because it did so well. They just kind of want to rip off ideas from other scary movies and do it. So there's going to be points where I point out where ideas that they did. This movie copies Halloween in that it starts in a earlier year, and then we like for the first murder, and then it cuts to many years later where the main story will hit. Halloween did that with Michael Myers killing his older sister, and then it cuts to later, and this is doing the same thing. So in 1958, at Camp Crystal Lake, we see these counselors. They're singing Christian songs. One's playing guitar. After they're done singing, two of them sneak away. They're Barry and Claudette. They sneak away to go have sex. And when they're up there, they get killed, like up in this cabin. It's not very graphic at all. Like the very first two kills here. Barry stabbed in the gut, but it's kind of under the camera's viewpoint, and then Claudette is killed by the camera going up and closing up on her, and we don't actually see her get killed. So these kills are not very graphic at all. But it does give us our cool title card where Friday the 13th busts through the glass and breaks the glass.
I feel like this horror movie sort of checks some boxes. Mindless, senseless killing. You don't know what's going on. It's chaotic.
Yeah.
And these characters were young, sexually active, making out. And, at the time, I think they were having sex and they die.
Yeah, this movie definitely drives home the if you're having sex, you're going to die trope. And if you're going to survive, you need to be the one that hasn't been having sex kind of thing.
Yeah. If you're a virgin, you're good.
Yeah, right. It's like some force stops the killer from getting you.
You're making out, you're going to die.
Right. So this title card was interesting. So the actual title for Friday the 13th was all that Sean S. Cunningham had when he wanted to raise the money for the film. He didn't have a script yet. He posted a full page article in Variety saying that he's got the scariest movie that's ever been made called Friday the 13th, and that he just needs financial backing. And it worked. It got him the financial backing it needed. The other thing I saw in an interview, he said that it was also a check to see if anybody was going to send him a copyright claim for wanting to do a movie called Friday the 13th, to see if anybody owned the rights to this title. And he didn't get a single claim saying, hey, no, you can't do Friday the 13th. That's my title. So they'll let him go.
That's interesting. I didn't even know that would have been a copyright issue.
Well, he wasn't sure. Yeah. He was worried that if you go make a movie, you put the whole, all this work into the movie, and then you can never publish it because someone's like, no, I own the rights to that.
And I wasn't around. So when I think of Friday the 13th now, I think of a superstitious day. And
yeah.
I'm assuming that was still the case back then. So maybe that there's some logic there where he's thinking that because it was a superstitious day, then he's got to check into it. Interesting.
Right. So we cut to present day. It's Friday the 13th. It's in June. And we meet a character named Annie Phillips who's walking into town. She's wearing a camper's backpack, like a big backpack. She stops to talk to a dog, and then she asks someone for directions. She enters a convenience store to ask for directions to Camp Crystal Lake. And this is where people call it Camp Blood. Judy, who's working...
Camp Blood.
Yeah. Judy's working behind the counter. Asks Enos if he's going to drive towards that way because it's 20 miles. And he says he's going to actually drive halfway there and he can give her a ride. When they go outside, we meet creepy guy Ralph.
Foreshadowing. You'll never come back.
And they're all going to die. It has a death curse. As Annie is getting into the truck, Enos kind of helps her up there by putting his hands on her butt and shoving her up there, which is a little funny, He asks her if all the counselors up there are going to be as pretty as her, which is funny. He's flirting away. She's half his age. I
thought it was interesting where Annie gets out of the vehicle, gets out of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
Was at a crossroads at Hope, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And there's a cemetery there. She gets out of the truck and there's a cemetery in the background. I thought it was a good scene.
Yeah.
They definitely planned on that, just having that shot.
Well, on the way there, I think they set her up as if we're supposed to care for this character. Because if you think about it, the first time viewing it, if we're introduced to this character now, it would be like she's the main character.
Like a tragedy.
Well,
where you start to empathize with that character and then...
Well, I think it does what Psycho did before it, although I would argue Psycho did it a lot better, where we have a main character, she survives for half the movie and then is killed in that iconic shower scene, and then we're like, wait, who are we following? Who's the main character of this movie? But it kind of does it in this movie,
right? Because Annie doesn't make it too far.
She doesn't, right? But there's a scene, right? She's in the car with Enos. She talks about how she's going to be at the camp. There's going to be about 10 people on staff. She's going to be cooking all summer for 50 kids. He tells her to quit. He tells her the place is jinxed, and that the 2 counselors were killed in 1958, and then a boy drowned the year before. And that's where we first hear that. And it's the only time it's talked about until the end of the movie again. But he says that they try to open it up in 1962, but the water was bad. And then he tells her to quit, but she can't quit, And he says her head is full of rocks. So he drops her off that cross section near a cemetery, and she walks down the road. And then we cut to a pickup truck with Jack, Marcy, and Ned driving towards the camp. And Ned asks Marcy if she believes there will be women there as beautiful as her at the campsite. And Marcy asks if sex is all he ever thinks about. He's like, absolutely not. Sometimes I think about just kissing women. So women are all, it's always in his mind. And they seem to be listening to some bluegrass type of music, which is really interesting. And when they arrive, you can see on the sign that the camp was established in 1935. And they meet Steve, who is chopping some wood. But he's kind of bent over weird when he's chopping the wood. He's not putting his whole body into it.
The guy who's sort of in charge there at the camp.
Yeah, he's the one that opens it up. Steve Christie. He's hired all the staff to, get the kids to come out. And then we meet Alice, who comes out, and she's going to show him the layout of the camp. We get a scene where Alice is fixing up the drain on a roof, and Steve comes over to help her. Steve looks at her drawings in a notebook and compliments her drawings. He sees one of himself and says that he looks really good in the picture, and she says she just drew what she saw.
And that was a picture of him that she had drawn, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you get the feeling here that he likes her a little more than maybe he should, is definitely as his employer, and that she doesn't really like that. And she also talks about she's not even sure she's going to make it for the next week. He asked her to stay 1 week and decide.
And there's an age gap there, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Totally. Yeah. Alice goes to speak to Bill to ask the question for Steve if he needs more paint. And he said that we're good on paint, that we might need more paint thinner. And Bill asks if everyone showed up. And Alan tells him that everyone showed up except the girl who was supposed to be the cook, who we know was Annie. Bill asks if Alice is sure she's going to survive the whole summer. She tells him she's not even sure she's going to last the first week. And Alice walks off, and we have a vantage point that makes us feel like she's being watched for some reason.
And at the camera angles did it here for me. Like, I loved the camera angles. It sort of like showing that someone is watching these counselors in the camp, and through the woods or through a Jeep or whatever, they're totally being watched.
If we're supposed to think that there's red herrings, they definitely want us to think Ralph is the killer.
He's a crazy guy.
He's a crazy guy.
They were told that he's drunk and he's heading towards the camp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we see Steve give instructions to the counselors as they're getting ready. He tells Brenda to set up the archery range. Steve says he's going into town and tells them it's supposed to rain really badly that night. So there's a little bit of foreshadowing on the weather. But he leaves them to do all the work.
But not as much foreshadowing as the making out and sex and dying.
Yeah, sure.
Because, if you're making out and having sex, you're probably going to die.
Apparently. All right, so we see Brenda setting up the archery range, and an arrow flies by her and barely misses her. And then Ned, you find out, is the absolute moron that shot at her. He's like, hey, you want to see a trick shot? And he's going to load 2 arrows and shoot them at her. This time, he's a freaking idiot.
He's a camp counselor. What's his problem?
I know. He's going to be teaching children. That's a bad sign. He tells her that she's beautiful when she's angry, and she starts to chase him, and he runs off laughing. All right. Then we see Annie as a Jeep comes by down the road. She sticks her thumb out, and she gets picked up by the Jeep. And this ride is very peculiar because we don't see the driver. We only see what the driver would see, like if we're seeing through their eyes.
Again, in that Jeep, and just watching Annie in the driver's seat.
And she tells him she's going to Camp Crystal Lake, and then Annie notices that they missed the turn. The driver doesn't stop. She says, like, hey, maybe we should slow down. And then she could tell that something's wrong, so she jumps out of the Jeep, and he rolls into the grass and starts running for her life. The actual actress that played Annie had to do that stunt.
So she didn't have a stunt double?
No, she jumped out of the car to do that. It's crazy. She gets up and runs, but you can tell that her leg is hurt from the fall. And then when Annie thinks she's lost the driver, she trips. She stands back up against a tree, and this is where a knife comes out and slits her throat. And this one is actually bloody, where the opening kills were not bloody. This kill of Annie is so much more graphic. It was done by makeup artist Tom Savini. He set up all the gore in this whole movie. He was already famous from doing 1978's Dawn of the Dead, and he learned a lot of the graphicness from his time in the war, where he was, he got to see a lot of blood, so he knew how it would look. So he used that in his makeup. But I love him from Dawn of the Dead. And he's actually, towards the end, he's one of the biker gangs that breaks into the mall. So it's pretty cool that, he's done well for himself because he can really do makeup, which is awesome. All right. The rest of the counselors are playing by the lake. They're playing some game where, like, if you would be an ice cream flavor, what would you be? And one person's like, Rocky Road. And this is because they didn't really have a script. They told them to just talk like you would talk if you were just friends hanging out and do things you would do. This is how later we get Strip Monopoly. These were ideas of the cast that came up on the spot because there was no script. They had to just make it up as they could.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. So we've got these actors and actresses that are basically improvising what they're doing on the set.
And then he hired them all from, he hired stage actors instead of like already established actors. He got people that were nearby stage acting in New York. And I think he had offered them like, hey, we can either pay you X amount of dollars or if you want to make a percentage of what the movie makes. And I think they all decided to just get paid because they didn't know if the movie was ever going to do anything. And that movie made a ton of money.
Oh,
so
sad.
They had that choice. We get a scene where Brenda's in the water and Ned comes out from under the water and grabs her, of course, because he's always after her.
Yeah, there was some foreshadowing and bad omens here that happened.
Yeah?
There's a fake drowning, too. Like, I'm drowning.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So Brenda pulls Ned out of the water after he's pretending like he's drowning. She starts to give him mouth to mouth, and he grabs her. And the oldest trick in the book is starts trying to make out with her. It's just like, how dare you, dude? That's not funny. Especially in a lake that kids already died in.
Yeah. Did they know that someone had died in the lake at this point?
I don't know if they did.
Because they're younger, and so they're just hired as counselors.
Maybe they might not know about the illness.
Steve was aware of it, but
sure.
I don't know. There's another thing that happens here. There's a snake, I think.
Yeah. It's in Annie's in the cabin when a snake comes up.
Oh, that's after the
Yeah, it's the next scene. Do you know the history of the snake?
No.
In real life?
No.
So the actors didn't know the snake was going to be there. Like, it was supposed to be a surprise.
So
like, they surprised the snake.
Improvisation,
right?
too.
So the actors reacted and killed the snake.
With the machete.
With a machete. But this snake was a pet of one of the crew members who did not know that they were going to kill the snake. Like, Tom Savini had said, "Okay, can we borrow your snake for a scene?" And he didn't tell him the counselors were going to kill him. But he might not have known that they were going to kill him because they were just reacting to a snake in the cabin. And so it just, unfortunately, it's kind of a bad mark on the movie. Like, people are like, you killed a dude's pet, man.
I didn't know that happened in real life. In the movie, I thought it was a pretty good, like, omen. Okay, there's a snake in the cabin.
We get this scene where this motorcycle cop comes down, and when he gets there, Ned is all naked except for he's wearing Native American headgear and like a loincloth covering his private parts. And
what a weirdo.
Jack walks up, and the officer accuses him of smoking weed, and Jack and Ned pretend not to understand. Jack's like, "Oh no, smoking will give you cancer," and the officer's like, "No, that's not what I'm talking about." He tries to tell him he's talking about weed. Ned's like, "I don't understand." And he goes, "Don't get smart with me." And he goes, Ned tells the officer, "Oh, don't worry, I'm as dumb as they come," which is awesome.
Were the officers warning them about Ralph?
I think so. Like, they get a report that Ralph was coming. That's what he's doing.
About Ralph is possibly drunk and peddling their way. And ironically, he's trying to save their lives. And he's not actually the murderer, but as you mentioned, it's sort of a red herring.
Sure.
He's a red herring in the story.
In the next scene, Annie's doing dishes. She opens up the pantry, and there's Ralph in there. And she screams, which attracts the attention of Ned and Marcy that come to, like, save her. And he tells them that God sent him to tell them that they are doomed if they stay. And he runs off. He gets on his bike. And he steps outside to make sure he leaves. And that gives him one more chance to tell them, "You're all doomed.
Doomed to stay here. This place is cursed."
Yeah, exactly.
And the officers were trying to paint the community as, perfect. I think one of them said something like, "We ain't gonna stand for no weirdness out here. Like, we don't want any nothing bad's gonna happen," essentially.
Yeah. Then we have a scene where everybody at that night is cooking. They're all just trying to work together because Annie, their cook, never showed up. And so they're just all trying to help out. But then the power goes out, and Jack is able to turn on the backup generator. So we established that the power in this camp now is relying on this backup generator, which will be important because the storm is coming. And then outside, Jack and Marcy are making out, and Ned seems envious. Like, he's obsessed with Brenda, but he's not getting anywhere.
And as soon as they start kissing, they're gonna die.
Sure. Well, Ned, who doesn't have sex, he's trying though. Walks into the cabin, and this is the last time we see him alive.
Ned is dead.
Well,
and he wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he will die.
Lusting.
Yeah, he was lusting over Brenda. Well, I mean, you got the feeling in that truck earlier that he would have gone for whoever he thought was the prettiest. But we see Marcy complaining about Ned to Jack, and Jack said that Ned has just always been that way. Jack gets really excited the storm's coming. He's like, "Ooh, it's going to tear up that mountain like a son of a bitch," or something like that, which is hilarious. Then Jack says that he had a dream about the rain. And then, or was it the dream?
And the rain
was it Marcy? Oh, Marcy had a dream about the rain.
She had the dream that the rain turned to blood.
Yeah, and then the rain gets louder. So they go inside so they don't get wet, and they resume making out, and quickly that turns into them jumping into the bed. Alice is worried about Jack and Marcy, that they're going to get soaked, and Bill tells them that he's playing a guitar, and he tells them, "Oh, if they're where they think they are, I don't think they'll get soaked. I don't think they have a problem," because he knows they're out having sex. And then Brenda's says that they're going to play Monopoly. Alice says she hates Monopoly, and Brenda assures her she won't hate it the way she plays it because they're going to play strip Monopoly. And then we cut back to Jack and Marcy having sex, and they don't know that Ned is lying dead in the bed above them. His throat was slashed.
And Jack he's played by Kevin Bacon, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, good actor.
Great actor.
He was in Tremors. He's a lot of stuff. Obviously, Footloose. We got back to the Monopoly game, and Bill loses his boot to Alice. We cut back to Jack, and Jack's lighting up a joint, and after one puff, a drip of blood lands on his forehead from above, and as soon as he notices that, a hand comes from below the bed and an arrow goes through his throat, and the blood spurts up into his face.
Jack has a very gruesome death here.
He does. I think it's the best death in the movie. It's pretty crazy. What's interesting is they had built a dummy, so on the bed is the dummy and Kevin Bacon's real head, and his body's laying under the bed, right? And they had a tube that was supposed to shoot up blood, but it got clogged waterlogged. So it wasn't Tom Savini, but it was one of the guys working with Tom Savini had to go and actually blow on the thing. So the blood shot up higher than it would have, which is where you see Kevin Bacon's face like kind of react.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah,
it's good. It was a very gruesome death. It was, like you mentioned, it's probably the best death in the movie.
And then we hear the iconic music. Do you know what the thing is saying in the music?
No, I didn't catch
So
that.
it's saying kill, 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 ma, ma, ma. Like it's like Jason telling his mom to kill. It's kill, 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 ma, ma, ma. Because everybody thinks it's ki, 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 ma, ma, ma.
I didn't catch that.
But it's, yeah, I mean, from the behind the scenes, that's
we don't
the
know
intent.
who the killer is.
We don't, right? We don't. But that's the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
All right. Marcy hears something and she thinks it's Jack. She goes to go wash up and she has to like repair the sink before she's able to wash up. She keeps looking over to the side of where the showers are. She thinks the other counselors are pranking and she starts looking for them like it's a game of hide and seek.
She's like, hey, come on, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't know what's going on. She thinks somebody's pranking her.
We see an axe come at her. It hits this light that's hanging from the ceiling before it gets her in the head. So while we don't actually see the axe cut her in the head, we cut to her and the axe is already in their head. The behind the scenes says the point of that light was so that it would, when it makes the sound of it hitting the light, it establishes in our brain that the weapon is real and dangerous. And so then we cut to the axe in her head. Our minds believe that it just swung down and hit her in the head.
Oh, interesting.
Instead of the plastic axe that they used, because we just heard it hit the metal and metal on metal made a certain sound, which was interesting.
Totally gave you the illusion that this is a real axe and it really went in her head.
Yeah. So back in the Monopoly game, Bill is shirtless and Brenda has lost her shirt, leaving her just wearing her bra and panties. Bill wants to quit, but she tells Bill he can't quit because she's about to get his pants. And Alice is finally about to lose her shirt when the wind blows the door open, stopping them from playing. Because this reminds Brenda that she left her cabin window open and then she leaves. She puts a raincoat over her bra and panties and just leaves. But it cuts the game before, I think it's important, before Alice loses her shirt. For her survival. That's why I think it's important. In town, we see Steve's just drinking coffee. He's ready to leave, but the waitress doesn't want him to leave. She doesn't think he should go out in the rain. I think it's interesting because, like, while they're supposed to be setting up the camp and doing all the hard work, he's just in town drinking coffee. Which is awesome.
The boss is gone.
Yeah.
While the cat's away, the mice will play.
Yeah, they were
so
playing
they were
all right.
playing.
Yeah, this is true. Go ahead.
I thought it was interesting that Steve had an old Jeep, just like the one that Annie hitched a ride on.
Yes.
And so at this point, I'm wondering, like, okay, is Steve somehow involved? I mean, Annie got a ride in this old Jeep that's the same as Steve's, and right before she died.
Can't trust a guy named Steve.
Yeah.
Steve.
Maybe another red herring. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the movie was trying to do that a lot. So yeah, he tells the waitress that he's got 6 brand new counselors who are babes in every sense of the word, and he means they're like children, but then they're also good looking, which is weird. If he's referring to children as good looking in the same sentence, it gets a little weird.
Yeah,
it gets a little weird. He asks how much he owes her, and she tells him he owes her $2.25, and he gives her some money and tells her to keep the change. So she gets really excited about that. Oh, at first when he asks how much he owes her, she says, "Oh, just a night on the town." Like, she's
flirting with
Steve. She's flirting with Steve. That's
Yeah.
right. I almost forgot that. We cut to Brenda, who's now brushing her teeth in the same bathroom where Marcy was killed. She thinks she hears something, but she doesn't go to investigate. We see that Steve's Jeep is broken down, and a cop happens by, makes a comment that he thought that Jeep would have made it through anything, and Steve tells him it would have, but it's dragging that trailer, and the rain isn't helping with the trailer. He asks the officer if he'll give him a ride. He can have one of his counselors bring him back for the Jeep in the morning. And then we see the killer, whoever it is, from their point of view, is watching Brenda from outside. Brenda lights a candle. She takes off her robe. She's wearing a nightgown. And she gets into bed to read a book by the candlelight. Then,
I was just thinking that, okay, so Steve, he had to have known the history of this camp.
Yeah, because his family's always owned it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But
I think he was trying to make money.
Yeah, I was like, why did he revive it? Why did Steve revive the camp?
I mean, it would be like, let's say you own a skating rink and something happened to a child there, and 20 years later you still own the building and you need to make money, so you're like, let me reopen this
last generation. I don't care.
Right?
Yeah,
I need to make money.
Time.
I think that was, but who's gonna think that the events of this film would happen? Yes, 2 people were brutally murdered. I guess they never figured out who brutally murdered them before, so maybe that would give you pause on why to open it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop anybody from the in the sequels, I don't know. That's funny.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, let's do it again. And again.
And again.
Well, and
we're still taking elementary kids to lakes on Friday the 13th.
Oh, man. All right, Brenda thinks she hears a voice outside, like a boy calling for help. So she goes outside to look, and she hears the voice yelling over here. She runs out in the rain with a flashlight. The voice tells her to come quickly, and she continues to make her way through it. She calls out, asking where the voice is coming from, but it's so dark she can't really see anything. The lights all suddenly come around and you realize she's in the middle of the archery range. And the lights are so bright that Brenda can't see who turned them on because they're blinding her. We hear her scream, but we don't actually see what happens to her. We just cut to Alice.
This is a bad place to be.
Yeah.
That archery range. I mean, with what happened with, was it Ned earlier?
Yeah. She does not have the luck with this place.
That's not the place to be.
It's where she was supposed to be the whole summer.
I did think that was an awesome flashlight that they had. Maybe it's because it's older and
maybe
we all have LED flashlights now, but she had a really awesome flashlight right before all those bright lights turned on.
There's a movie called Bodies, 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 and in that movie, all the characters get by on their flashlights of their cell phones, and there's actually a point where someone
my life.
There's a point where a character opens a drawer and you see in that drawer are flashlights, but the characters don't think to grab the real flashlights because they're fine with the flashlights on their phone. I think it's awesome. It's a funny movie.
Yeah. I was just thinking when my cell phone flashlight died and
I
couldn't see in the drawer to find the flashlight.
Oh my God, that's too funny. So Alice is strumming the guitar, waiting for everybody to come back. She seems really bored. And she adds some wood to the fire. And when the front door bursts open, Bill comes in. Alice tells Bill that she thinks she heard Brenda scream and that somebody turned on the lights at the archery range. But when Bill goes out to look, the lights are off again. Bill says he'll go check it out, and Alice asks to go with him. They make it to Brenda's bed. Instead of Brenda, they find a bloody axe just lying there.
And the axe is back, but it's with blood this time.
Yeah. Exactly. Next, they go to Jack's cabin, and no one's there either. So they go to the bathroom to see if they see anybody. And at this point, Alice is ready to call someone, but Bill isn't sure that they should call anybody. Alice and Bill go to the office, and Alice breaks through the door, and we get in. The camera pans up from them, the shot of the window. It pans up, and we see the phone wires that have been cut on the building, so they can't make a phone call. So it's pretty neat that they're established. It's not just the weather that made the phones not work. Someone actually cut those lines. They next try to start the truck, but the truck won't start. Alice, go ahead.
All the vehicles are dying.
They're all dying.
The Jeep couldn't make it with the trailer.
They probably didn't buy a Japanese
Ford pickup now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it is.
They all buy American cars.
Yeah, they bought the wrong brand of vehicle. But these vehicles die.
They didn't have any Teslas in the 80s. Oh man. So Alice wants to just hike, and Bill thinks it's a stupid reason and then in the morning they'll all be laughing about this, that there's no reason to leave now. And then in the cop car, the police officer is telling Steve that on top of it being Friday the 13th, it is also a full moon. He continues to talk about how full moons, people go crazy. There's more accidents, rapes, robberies, homicides, more of everything. And a full moon upsets people and gets them to going nuts. I can agree, working at a hospital, for some reason, you're working overnight at a hospital, it's a full moon. We are way busier on a full moon night. It doesn't make logical sense, but we are busier on a full moon night. It's just crazy.
Hopefully I never show up. I do howl, though. I spend my Friday the 13th, the full moon howling.
Yeah, that's funny. So then the officer gets a phone call, and so he's got to go respond to this call. There's 3 people might be dead in a car crash that are using the jaws of life to get in the car. So the officer lets Steve out. He's almost at the camp, and Steve can walk the rest of the way. As Steve arrives back at the camp, you can tell he recognizes somebody. He's like, "Oh, hi there. What are you doing out in this mess?" And then he's stabbed below the camera like the person the first.
So he knows the murderer.
He knows the murderer.
Now we know it's not Steve.
We now know it's not Steve.
He was driving this similar model Jeep.
Right. But what's crazy is this death, they all got gory after those first ones, except for this one. He stabbed below the camera. And, I mean, there's blood, but it's not like the other kills. It's weird that his was so less gory. Bill and Alice are back to that cabin where they all played Monopoly in. They're lighting 2 lanterns. Bill says the generator probably ran out of gas, and he's going to go check it out. Alice offers to go with him, but he tells her she should probably get some sleep. Like, who can sleep? Bill makes it to the generator and starts working on it to try to make it work again.
The camera angles are showing that somebody's watching Bill at this point.
Oh yeah, too. the whole movie, pretty much. But you're right. Yeah,
it's intensely focusing on Bill. Like, something's gonna happen to this guy.
And then Alice wakes up. She wakes up screaming for Bill like she just had a nightmare. And she wakes up and starts making some coffee. And this scene is really ridiculously long of her just like starting the water, putting the coffee in the water, going to get some sugar from the pantry. And we think that anytime someone's going to jump out.
It sort of reminds me of not a horror movie, but there's this Steve McQueen movie named Bullet. And there's a lot of scenes with there's no background music. There's just sounds and like, footsteps or walking. And right before that, when Bill was checking over things, there was a lot of creaking and squeaking. And now we're, making coffee. There's a lot of like noises related to this.
Yeah.
And that's all that you hear. And that in and of itself is a little bit creepy. Sets the tone for the scene.
Yeah. So it stops raining, and she decides to go outside and look for Bill. She gets to the generator. She finds his red raincoat. She had a yellow one. He had a red one, but Bill's not with it. She doesn't see him until she closes the door, and he's hanging on the other side of the door with a lot of arrows in him. So
that was another gruesome death.
That was gruesome. Yeah, we didn't see the death, but we saw the gruesomeness after the death. Then they go back to the cabin where she was just sleeping at, and she tries to barricade the front door.
That was interesting.
Tie it with rope.
She's like blockading the door.
Yeah.
She closed the curtain for one window, but the other window curtain is like wide open. And it's like, okay, so I'm going to block somebody from coming in the door, but they can just like crash right through this window right next to the door here.
So she arms herself with a baseball bat in one hand and a lantern in the other. She walks all around the cabin looking for weapons, closing all the curtains. What's up?
Yeah, so it's like when you're frightened like that.
Yeah.
Logic just doesn't always set in. So you're just doing things because you're anxious or you're scared.
She's probably trying to do anything in a situation she doesn't have control. So she leans against the fridge, and this is what you're alluding to. Brenda's body is thrown through the window. She's now tied with rope and bloody. What's funny is Brenda didn't make this jump through. Tom Savini was dressed like Brenda, and so he jumped through as her stuntman. And so if you look at the footage, like he's way bulkier when Brenda goes through the window, and then she's her skinny self again when she, is on the ground, which is pretty funny. So Alice crawls away while she's half crying, half screaming. Her raincoat gets caught in some equipment like the stove or something. It's just she leaves it behind, and she sees some headlights. So she runs outside. She just barricaded the darn thing, and now she runs outside. And she sees an older woman and asks who she is, and she says, I'm Mrs. Voorhees. I'm an old friend of the Christies. And Steve is a Christie. She gives Alice a hug, and Alice tells her it's been a whole nightmare, that people are dead.
And at this point, I'm wondering, why is this lady not afraid?
Yeah, she tells her, I'm not afraid. Yeah. She tries to calm her down, and she can't keep Alice calm. She says she's going to go check it out and look at everything. And it's okay, because she used to work here. She's, used to work for the Christies. When she gets inside, Mrs. Voorhees starts blaming Steve for opening this place back up because there's too much bad that's happened here. She goes on to tell her that once a little boy drowned and the counselors were not paying attention because they were making love. I think it's funny.
Oh, there we go.
I think it's funny that she called it making love, because I think as a teenager, no one thinks of it as making love. I don't know. It's been a long time since I was a teenager.
Depends on how far you take it, I guess.
Sure. So she says the boy's name, Jason, and it's 77 minutes into the movie before we hear the name Jason for the first time. Mrs. Voorhees used to work in the kitchen. She was working in the kitchen the day that Jason needed to be watched, but he wasn't a very good swimmer. Mrs. Voorhees tells Alice that they can leave now, but Alice wants to wait for Steve. Mrs. Voorhees starts hearing the voice of Jason telling her to help, calling, "Help, Mommy." And Mrs. Voorhees tells the voice that that's what she's doing. She's helping. Alice asks where Steve is, and Mrs. Voorhees says that she couldn't let them open this place again. And Mrs. Voorhees starts blaming Alice for Jason's death, saying that Alice let him drown. Alice makes it outside and runs for the Jeep and sees that Annie's dead body's in the front seat. She runs away and then she sees Steve's body swing down from a tree. This mirrors, I think, in the original Halloween when Laurie's going around. She finds Melinda in the cabinet, and then Bob comes down hanging from the ceiling.
Right.
His body hangs down, so I think that's what this is mirroring there.
It also reminds me of these Halloween haunted houses and shows that you can go to. You pay money and you go in, and then all of a sudden behind the door there's a dead body, and imagine if you experience that in real life, though.
Sure.
There's dead bodies flying and hanging and coming down in your face. It's gotta be surreal.
So Alice continues to run, and Mrs. Voorhees comes out, and in a voice that sounds like a little boy, you hear her say, "Kill her, mommy, kill her."
Oh, see, and when she was talking about Jason and his death,
yeah,
I was like, is there a ghost killing these?
Yeah.
Like, is there some type of supernatural thing going on there?
Right.
And Friday the 13th was his birthday.
Oh, I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was Jason's birthday.
Of what month?
Oh, I don't know. But she did mention that Friday the 13th was his
okay,
birthday.
All right. And so Alice is like, trying to look around for weapons. She finds a rifle, but she can't find any bullets. Mrs. Voorhees turns the power back on. Mrs. Voorhees finds Alice and she slaps her. She starts beating her. Apparently, in the interviews, they say that as a stage actor, you really slap people. So she's really slapping this girl.
I was wondering though, at this point, right, Alice?
Yeah.
So Jason's mom just killed all these people so easily.
Yeah.
And then why the struggle with Alice? Like, she seems to be having some trouble here.
I think if anything, well, let's see here. Let's go through it. She was chasing Annie down. Annie tripped. When she stood up, she slit her throat. Right? I think the two kids in the beginning didn't suspect that she would kill them at all, right? They were the first victims. They didn't see it coming. I think
it's more startling to them.
Yeah.
So it was a simple kill for her, but this one's drawn out.
We see
because of these reasons.
We see that Alice is suspicious of her, so she does run from her, and she's willing to fight back, like any good final girl would, right?
Yeah, fighting back. I thought it was great to have the machete versus the frying pan. Yeah. Let's see which one is the better weapon.
So Alice is able to land a good punch to the crotch, and then she runs outside. Alice runs to the docks at the lake, and Mrs. Voorhees follows. Alice thinks she loses her. We do get a shot of this full moon. Then back at the kitchen, Alice is hiding in the pantry. We hear glass breaking, and Alice is trying to hold the door shut, but she's making a lot of noise. She's crying this whole time, and she stops holding the door when she thinks Mrs. Voorhees is gone, but as soon as Mrs. Voorhees grabs the knob, Alice lets out a big scream. This is where Mrs. Voorhees breaks the door with a machete.
Yeah.
Alice grabs the frying pan.
Frying pan.
Yeah.
The frying pan wins.
Yeah. So she knocks her down. We see a lot of blood on the floor. So Alice goes outside. She's relaxing by a canoe, trying to compose herself because she thinks Mrs. Voorhees is dead now. But then we show that Mrs. Voorhees shows back up with a machete.
She comes to and the machete's back, so let's see what happens.
Alice is able to knock the blade away from her. It's knocked down. Mrs. Voorhees climbs on top of her and starts to choke Alice, but Alice is able to turn her over, which to me seemed like a good jiu-jitsu move. Like you get out from the under and you got to get on top. Alice crawls away, but Mrs. Voorhees pulls her hair and slams her face into the dirt. Alice gets away again, and this time she grabs a machete. She runs at Mrs. Voorhees, swinging it. The film turns to slow motion as we see Mrs. Voorhees' head gets chopped right off. And exhausted, Alice falls asleep into the canoe and floats out in the Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
She wakes up.
The cops are there in the morning time.
And they're waving at her. Out of the pool comes a little deformed-faced looking boy who was drowned in the lake named Jason, grabs her, pulls her down, and then she wakes up.
Supernatural. Or was it a dream?
It was a dream. She wakes up and it's in a dream. So she's in a hospital surrounded by police and medical staff. The sergeant says that her parents are on their way, and she asks if they found the little boy, and they said there's no little boy, and she ends by saying, then he's still there. Dun dun dun. But it was a dream. He was not a little boy.
Are you sure?
I'm sure, because
she talking about the corpse in the
spoiler
lake,
alert for the next one. Spoiler alert for the next one. He's an adult. So I know, the writer of the first one doesn't think any sequel should have happened, right? Because he wrote them that the whole point of the movie, the whole point of the killings was Jason was dead the whole time. So now in all the sequels, I love Jason, so I'm glad they happened. But he's right in the fact that he wrote it so that Jason never lived on. But now he's an adult, so he wasn't this little boy in the lake. It was a dream. Yeah.
But it's hard to say from the camera angle and everything. Was it a boy, or was it? It was just kind of like this dirty creature type thing that came.
Well, it definitely was a boy, though.
You think it was a boy?
Well, the actor who played him still goes around at conventions. He's younger than
real boy,
the guy that played
actor,
Jason,
okay.
right? Yeah, the actor.
Yeah.
He loves to talk about it. He was the first Jason. Which is awesome.
Interesting.
So trivia: the camp was filmed at Camp Nibibusku. I can't say that well. In New Jersey. It's still in operation. They have a wall of Friday the 13th memorabilia there.
So wait, elementary kids go here?
They do go there. Yeah.
All right. Not my kid.
So Betsy Palmer, the actress, she got the script. She didn't want to do it. She thought it was, in her words, a piece of shit. But she needed a new car, and the amount that she was getting paid was the exact amount for that car. So she took it because she was desperate for that car.
So was it a Jeep?
It was not a Jeep. I had it. I read what car it was, but I don't remember. That's funny.
Caddy or something.
Well, she just wanted like a basic kind of car.
Oh, she just needed a car.
She was desperate for a car. She found one that was being sold for so much. Tom Savini, who we talked about, was the first crew member to be on board because of his work, his special effects makeup in Dawn of the Dead, 1978 movie. After the film's success, Adrienne King, who played Alice, was stalked by a fan, and terrified, she asked for her role in part 2 to be small as possible. She didn't take any other roles or make convention appearances for almost 20 years because of this.
Wow.
It just sucks, you know. Oh, this one, Siskel and Ebert, right? The critics hated the movie so much that they published the address of the producers saying, if you want to complain to them. And he also, he didn't, the rumor is that he gave out Betsy Palmer's home address, but he told people the town she lived in the review, to go tell her to her face, this is a horrible thing. Because she was
she just needed a car.
She did. Well, she was, before this, was known for her game show appearances, and she was a nice person in movies. So for them to get this nice actress and turn her into a villain, really upset with them. I just thought that was a little crazy.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about the movie?
No, I really liked it.
Yeah, it's fun. Is it a great movie? Not really, but I love it.
I was, the first time I watched this,
I
didn't know who the killer was. Right up to the point that you see the lady there.
So critics will tell you there is no possible way of knowing, because...
But you mentioned there's that song. Kill, 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 ma, ma, ma.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. But even Betsy Palmer told the director, can I not be in that scene in the convenience store in the beginning, so people at least met my character, so that when I'm there at the end, it's not this reveal of anything, but there's no, we like it the way it is. And so even Betsy Palmer thought it was really ridiculous. Yeah, it's a whodunit, but a lot of people would say it's not a solvable whodunit. I still have fun with it. I do love this movie.
I love the red herrings and everything that you mentioned.
Yeah, I gotcha. So yeah, I think we hit up all of my talking points. What'd you think of the final girl? It's good. Was she good? Alice?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
If you were going to compare Laurie and Alice, because
yeah, sure.
We just reviewed.
Oh, okay, so
Halloween.
So I'm thinking. So when you say Laurie, I think the original one first. The original one made a lot of dumb decisions as the final girl, but she was pretty early on in Final Girl rules. As soon as she stabs Michael, she drops the knife, walks away from it. She assumes he's dead. She does a lot of not amazing things, even though I love that movie. And Jamie Lee Curtis, in the commentary for the original Halloween that she did with John Carpenter, she says to fans that, well, if she kept the knife, if she made sure he was dead, there wouldn't be much of a movie. So she's you kind of have to do those things for a movie to happen, which I think was interesting. If you mean the Rob Zombie remake, I'm trying to think, because Laurie in that one, by part 2, she's kind of cuckoo. She's going through some trauma. She starts seeing visions of her mother and young Michael. So I don't know that any of the decisions she makes at the end are good. At the end of the first one, she's pretty good, though. Rob Zombie's Halloween, she actually shoots him in the face.
Yeah.
And at that point, supposedly had killed him.
I think I'd be fine with Alice as my camp counselor if I was a kid.
Yeah.
Going back to Alice.
Now, Laurie, by the time we get to 2018's Halloween, is a badass. She's been weapons training forever. She lives in this land. And have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay, I'm going to stop. I don't want to spoil
Lara
that
Croft,
for you.
Tomb Raider.
Pretty much. She is an amazing... She's this older woman, and she's just prepared her whole life for the fact that this one guy that killed 3 people 40 years ago might come for her one day. That part's a little ridiculous because, I get when he's, after her in the first movie. But if it's been 40 years and no one's come after you, why have you been training your whole life for this? He only killed 3 people. There's people that have killed way more people than that. I don't know. I think that's funny. I do like those movies. You should watch them, though. Any idea what you might want to cover next?
I know. We could do another Rob Zombie or You're not gonna do any series on this, are you?
I mean, we could. You want to just keep going with this?
There's some good series. Like there's the Cabinet of Curiosities, which came out.
Oh, you mean TV show series?
Yeah, like series,
I thought you meant movie series.
Movies.
Well, you mentioned Black Mirror.
And Black Mirror. And Wednesday is not really hard, but it's
we'd have to figure out how we would do
good.
it. We'd have to figure out how we do it. Yeah. Like, we'd have to figure out how the series is.
Or just like select episodes.
Yeah. Okay. That's something to think about. All right. For now, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe. It's been great. And we'll see you next time, hopefully. Bye.